What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles. You are listening to Lyles Movie Files. Joining me tonight is the one and only little brother Jace. How are you?
I'm good. First week of March, the year is moving fast, and we're just getting another podcast in. All right, let's get it done.
I'm scared that it's already March because I still have a few more of my WWE figures to open up to review because they're going to be part of March Bashness 2020.
A few.
A few that would be part of tag teams that I need to.
Got it.
Yeah. Most notably the Hardy Boys.
I was going to say now, are no, not the AEW, because those don't have any tag teams that you don't have. Did TNA come out with a series that works with your lineup?
They don't. They're a little small.
Oh, okay. I was like, did James Storm ever come out?
Man, I really, really wish they were more in scale. But I think at that time they were dealing with Jax and their scale, which was all over the place, which made their figures really good, but their scale was kind of, their articulation wasn't consistent from figure to figure, so it was kind of sketchy.
Oh, that's
the good figures were really good, though.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I wish if I could pluck one team to put into March Bashness, it would be America's Most Wanted.
I was going to say, since you already have Bobby Roode,
beer money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but man, America's Most Wanted was my team. Them and Triple X, they were great. The beer money was right up there too.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about why we are chatting tonight, dear brother. I swear, every time I've really done my best to check out every bit of Star Wars movie news in terms of the sequel trilogy, because I'm just like, switch, done, I'm over it. And they keep coming with more things that just made me go, wow. So basically, Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, is the opposite of the Zack Snyder cut, where I don't want to hear anything else about it, and I just wish they would all stop.
But there's a J.J. Abrams cut that has none of this done either.
Yeah.
So what foolishness is today's news?
All right, well, so the Rise of Skywalker novel is coming out next Friday. March 17th. And copies started showing up at C2E2 last week. And then there were some questions that were answered because, like me, I was sitting watching the movie like, this doesn't make sense. Can someone explain this? What's going on? So the big headline was Palpatine returned because he transferred his consciousness into a clone of himself. Which I guess maybe you could go along with some extended universe stuff and say, okay, there's a little precedence for this.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger news was that Rey's father was a failed Palpatine clone.
And that's not her grandfather.
So after Palpatine's death, he thrust his consciousness into a clone body, but the transfer was imperfect. Various members of the Sith. Now, I'm quite confused of this because everything that I've been told and informed of from the George Lucas guy who created this universe, there's only two Sith. A master and apprentice. No more, no less.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know you dig super deep into the mythos of Star Wars with all the novels. Is there also precedence for this too?
No.
Okay.
It's just like the only time they tried to do it and kind of tried to make it like it was okay was like they tried to make it so like the novel of Darth Plagueis kind of tried to act like Darth Maul wasn't a true Sith, so Darth Plagueis was still around until the end of Phantom Menace. But it's like, no, it was 100% like, I mean, like I actually like the author James Luceno, but it was like, dude, you don't get to downgrade one of George Lucas' characters because it works with your story. You just have to do something different. Like that is the dude who wrote it. You don't get to just kind of fill in blanks that aren't real blanks you can fill in. Like you can expand a story, but you can't overwrite like, oh, see, his Sith wasn't really a Sith. It's like, nah, man, that was a Sith. It's like Darth Maul is a Sith Lord. It's like,
Play with the rules that have been established all this time. Thank you.
yeah, it's like just that's what we asked you to do, and that's why the new trilogy doesn't really work for anybody because it's like you guys didn't play with the rules, and now you're trying to come up with a novel that because I remember the novel Attack of the Clone had something that didn't really work. It was like, oh, it was an expanded scene kind of with Dooku
And
and
Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme.
yeah, but it was like if you saw the movie, it actually worked better because it's like you don't really, again, you still don't know he's 100% dirty until he calls for the execution. He actually, I mean, it's like there's still a little maybe gray hair, but then you say, oh yeah, he's dirty as hell. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But
So anyway, let me get back to this because we haven't actually gone to the problem here.
ooh,
So one of the failed Palpatine clone hosts was useless and powerless, and a not quite identical clone. I don't understand why you would make a clone that's not an identical clone. I mean, I think the entire purpose of a clone is to look like you. So how slacking on the job were these quote unquote armies of Sith that they were like, hey, wait a second, this clone is black. We can't use this one, guys. So anyway, it wasn't strong enough to host Palpatine, but it was strong enough to live a life and become Rey's father. I'm confused now because
what?
if it wasn't strong enough to host Palpatine, how is it then strong enough to host Rey, who's apparently the super Sith Jedi?
Because I'm not thinking essence of Force essence skips a generation.
That makes no sense.
Like okay, like all right, I'll go with a little bit of expanded universe. Like is I because you were actually one who got me into this was the one dark. Oh man, this is one where like Luke becomes a Sith apprentice.
Dark
So
Empire?
yeah, like that's kind of it's like oh if you're trying to bring that in, then you fail once again because that doesn't make sense because Luke would have known he was around. Um, but if you're trying to use something like that, it's like don't try and play with that kind of rule. It's like no, or unless you want to say, hey, the reason why Luke became a hermit was because he did go to the dark side and then decided after years later, then he was going to try and train Jedi apprentice, which would make no damn sense because no one would trust him since he 2 seconds after being a Jedi he decides to be a Sith. I never really got that one.
Are you talking about the Dark Empire series?
The
It's
comic book where
it's really good. Like
I,
it's not set up in a way where he's the Sith. What happens is Palpatine becomes like he gets a clone and he starts corrupting Luke. Luke starts to fall under his sway. Leia comes to help him and or save him, and then both of them are fighting Palpatine at the end. So it's not it's much better than some of these other Star Wars stories.
No, no,
It's,
I
it's
wasn't actually talking bad about that because actually,
oh
again, I said you did get me into it because it was actually an enjoyable story. I'm just kind of like, if you're trying to cherry pick information from that one, then it doesn't work.
man,
And I think that's
nothing
kind
they've
of,
done makes sense.
I mean, it's like, to me, I guess it's like the, and I guess because I look a lot online on this stuff and then they're like, oh, well, the J.J. Abrams cut was supposed to have Palpatine the clone in Force Awakens. It's like, but then that
No,
would have
that's
pissed.
absolutely not true.
That,
Because he's just making it up as he goes along.
yeah, this whole. I mean, it's this. There is no way you can't say that this was three movies that were planned out because two would never have happened if this was planned out. Because two just doesn't make sense. It's I made one story to try and revitalize the franchise like I did with Star Trek, and then I'm gone. I didn't make up another story on what happens to these guys, but you guys take it and run. And now trying to, this, ad hoc, story is just like stop it. Like we you're trying to sell to people who are very conscious of continuity. And everything you say, you can't just retcon and like, oh yeah, see that's not. It's like no, that doesn't make sense to what you did. It's like how it's like so we have a Palpatine clone who wasn't strong enough to carry the essence. Why the hell wouldn't they just start over with another damn clone? Like, why are we just going to wait? Let this guy just kind of run his life for 40 years, and then this other Palpatine is in Exegol doing gosh knows what. I mean, sorry, he's creating the First Order and making clones of Snoke. Yeah, I can't. This series is just. And then it's like, and then you hear like the other rumors. It's like, oh well, now the new CEO of Disney is going to revitalize Luke, and it's like, so he's going to try and wipe out this new sequel trilogy. Like, that's because it's like, and you can't tell what's fact or fiction anymore because it's like real fans of the original 6 movies are like, this sequel trilogy doesn't make sense, and trying to shoehorn it into making any bit of sense is just pointless effort on our part. It's like it's fan fiction, it's bad. It's like if your kids like Ray, hey, that's good for them. I know people who like this First Order. I'm like, why?
Jason Bailey had the best quote on this. He tweeted this out. Still haven't seen that new Star Wars movie, which is probably for the best since they keep adding patches.
Maybe look at the downloaded content, the DLC.
Sorry, guys.
The full movie.
This version fixes this plot point and all kinds of other foolishness.
You know how like Star Wars Galaxy Heroes kind of gives you the like, hey, this patch is to correct this bug that we put in from our last patch. Maybe in like 5 years they'll come up with a whole story of Rise of Skywalker that will make any of this make sense.
I won't care.
I think you will have moved on. You're like, so when are we getting that next season of Mandalorian?
Right. So here's another thing that was really interesting that came up. I guess this is just it was a couple of weeks ago now. Dan Didio, the former co-publisher of DC Comics, mysteriously was fired from his job. There's all kinds of rumors about what happened if he left on his own or if he was fired because of some other decisions he made.
That tells me that.
And so he just kind of was shown the door. It was really interesting because it's like Didio was planning yet another potential major reboot of DC. It was going to be called 5G. And this reboot was going to change basically all the main characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, and replace them with younger versions of themselves, or start a whole new generation with this new era of heroes. So Superman was going to be replaced by his son John, who was going to be aged up for the second time to be Superman. Batman was going to be replaced by Luke Fox. I'm sorry, not Lucius. Those two confuse me all the time. Luke Fox, Lucius's son. Aquaman, if I'm remembering correctly, was going to be replaced by Aqualad. And Green Lantern was going to be... So they were all going to be replaced, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of these things that was kind of it was not quite a secret, because he had kind of shown this map of how he was going to get from one point to the next. And there was a lot of apprehension from people. I've talked to people inside comic books, comic book writers, comic book store owners who are very leery of 5G. Because with Marvel's done this with switching up characters, replacing Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor, and Wolverine with minority or female characters, and eventually the old characters come back.
Mm-hmm.
And DC was really trying to put like a no way out clause with making this a whole new generation. And
How were they going to do that No Way Out clause?
basically, they were going to say that, I guess this era, the New 52/reboot continuity, was going to have an endpoint. And the 5G was going to follow this new point, and we were not going to go back to the other one. Now, there's been a lot of... Well, see, the thing with Didio is that he's been around for 20 years at DC, which is a long, long time. And as a result, he's had some really big hits from the people who've worked for DC during that time. Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder. Those are the three most immediate ones that come to my mind. Tom King is kind of an interesting one because he's a little bit divisive with the fan base. They love his work on Mr. Miracle and this first half of Batman right up until the proposal or the wedding that wasn't with Catwoman. That's kind of the turning point in his run for a lot of fans. They were really excited. They wanted to see this evolution of the character. Finally realized, yeah, I can have a relationship. I can do all my Batman stuff and do this. But when they didn't, a lot of fans were like, nope, we're out. And the sales started going down. And King wrote a few really good stories. The Mr. Freeze one really comes to mind. But he also had a lot of really questionable stories that weren't working.
I'm just since I read comics like 2 years late, I just am up to the wedding.
Sorry.
Well, I knew it. I mean, again, when you're 2 years late, sometimes you know the endpoints and stuff. It's like, but you still are okay going through the journey. Like, okay, let's see how we got here.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those deals where I think DC needed to make a change because Marvel has really just cornered the comic book market because of the movies, and DC hasn't been able to make any headway. I mean, they are able to when they have a reboot like 52 and Rebirth, but then things kind of settle back into the status quo. And I assumed Didio's plan was 5G was going to be the one that brings in new people to the comic book shop, new readers, and they're going to stay for years and years and years. But I feel like his downfall, he tends to always go, well, let's make things a little bit darker. When Rebirth started, it was kind of touted as it's a new hopeful era of DC. We're back with marriages. We're back with couples that you love, back together, not split just to be split.
Cool.
Green Arrow and Black Canary are together. Aquaman and Mera are together. Barry Allen's with Iris.
We're trying to get with Iris.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were on that path to put them together because before they weren't. So it was a lot of things like, great, this is what readers of a certain age, and and especially in the case of Flash, where you're watching a TV show, hey, he's with Iris. Why is he not with Iris in the comic? You need a little bit more synergy, and they weren't doing that.
But another thing is like the Rebirth, and this, it's like if I wanted to get younger readers into comics, like when they're impressionable and not dark, angsty teens, Rebirth was a perfect jump point. It was like, hey, I can actually read this with my kids. It's like, you guys very clearly tell me when there's a, if I'm in Suicide Squad, this is going to be, PG-13, but it's like, I can read a Superman book. I can read some Batman books and be okay to share this with my kids. But if they, because I think, what was it? The Heroes Lost.
You're talking about Heroes in Crisis?
Heroes in Crisis, yeah. That's what it was like. Something's not right here. It's like, I don't know what happened.
I was going back to the old, let's kill characters off and make it more interesting for people. But the fans don't like that. It's like, if you're going to kill somebody, make it meaningful. Don't sell it on the fact of, hey, a lot of the heroes that you like are going to die. That just never works. And Didio has been in charge of too many of those events, those storylines, those decisions. Like in Infinite Crisis, he wanted to kill off Nightwing. And then a bunch of writers and fans were like, "Are you crazy? How are you going to kill off Nightwing?" Because he didn't realize and understand how important Dick Grayson was to DC.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, how are you at DC and not understand it? It's like, come on.
Because it's funny, like if you watch like any of like the animated movies, he always tells this like a nice and hopeful way of talking about comic books and how they affect society. But then if you were to hear like backstage, it's like, yeah, he's trying to kill off Nightwing, like when all the villains basically out Nightwing. No, that was before Rebirth. No, okay. So like when all the villains basically try and kill Nightwing, unmask him on TV, it's like, why did y'all do that? Because now everybody knows who Batman is. Like some of this stuff wasn't making sense to me, and I'm like binge reading this stuff. I'm just like, this is not flowing like a good reason to do stuff. And then it's like you go from what was it? New 52 was like, well, we're gonna get rid of all the old heroes. No, don't do that. It's like you can expand. The better way to expand your universe of heroes is to make new stories, not to erase existing characters. And I think we talk about this a lot on the show. Is if diversity is your goal, don't erase what you already have. Create something new. It's so much easier. It's like you're not. It's like, oh well, sales struggles. Like, well, that's just how it goes. It's like some people don't jump into something good when it's new, but you got to kind of tell those stories and kind of not force it on people. But it's like Mr. Miracle. It's like it's a limited run, but hey, it was good. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you might not get 600 episodes of the new character you're trying to really create stories for, but you're just gonna have to roll with that. It's like, but you can't age up Superman. I mean, Jonathan Kent again after the the dumb decisions by John Michael Bendis to age him
Brian
because
Michael Bendis.
Brian. What? Yeah, I'm sorry. I do not know his name, and that storyline still pisses me off, as you can see. But if you're gonna make, I think this is. I'm sorry. I think this is why DC publishers 100% say, nope, we're not doing this again. It's like you've been on charge of too many reboots, trying to boost sales. It's like our better option is we see how Marvel has increased sales by creating better movies and creating synergy. We need to do that. It's like we're not going to reboot this crap again. Let's put it all under one house and get it right.
Hopefully. So we'll see what happens on that storyline. Jay King, are you here?
I am here, gentlemen.
What's up,
How
man?
are you?
Good.
Hey, man. PTA and all that shit. I'm here, man. I'm here to support my guys, man. My favorite brothers in the world, Jeffrey and Jason.
I appreciate it, homie. All right, let's talk about this deal here. Coronavirus is apparently going to start infecting movie business as well as audiences.
And the beer industry, by the way.
Yeah, MGM is taking a major decision because they were going to put James Bond 25, No Time to Die, in theaters in April. And they decided, let's hold off. Let's wait for our Chinese market to be able to have people in theaters. So we're going to put it back to November. And I thought that was interesting because most of the Bond films come out in October and November anyway, or at least the Daniel Craig versions. And now there's reports that MGM may possibly lose $50 million from moving it. Do you think it was worth it? Because Spectre, at least in China, brought in $85 million. So what do you think? This is a good move to wait it out, or they should have just gone along with it?
No, I think it's a good move because people right now are they're so captured by what's happening with the coronavirus. Every day there's a new report of either a death or an infected area, right? So it's a smart strategy to let the smoke die down, let some of the fear subside, let some education get out there as to how not only contract the virus, what the virus is and what it does, and its effect on people and prevention. Let some common sense take place, and hit not just the reset button, but for what it's worth, By the time we get through the summer, nobody's gonna sit in the house all summer long. This is just the new. Right now it's the new pandemic. It's the new craze, the new Ebola, the new SARS, the new swine flu.
West
Everybody's going
Nile.
nuts. West Nile, you name it, whatever's gonna kill us. Um, it just highlights a simple fact that people are stupid and they really don't educate themselves on what they're afraid of.
Hey,
So
we're
let's
just
just
trying
let
to stop the zombie apocalypse, okay?
we really are, Jace, and how we do that is not by not buying Corona beer, which was one of my favorite stories over the weekend because those Mexicans are getting coronavirus through their beers is what I actually heard that. I'm gonna get to that for dummies for the week, but that was
Yeah, you
actually
got to if
said
that happened.
by a person. That was actually uttered by a person. But I think it's a smart strategy. Let everything die down, man. It's a crazy time right now. Man, hand sanitizer is like $100 a bottle right now. We talking about 2.5 ounce bottles of hand sanitizer selling for like $30 a bottle.
Hey,
Dude,
that's the
we're
new
doing
drug dealer
ridiculous.
right there. Hey man,
Dude, that's the
you
new
want some of
plug
that
right there.
hand sanitizer,
You
man?
want some of that
$30.
Sandy? Hey, yo, you want some of that Sandy?
Yeah,
You need that Sandy? Like we're going
well, yes
bananas
I
out
would.
here. Like I'm gonna tell you some of the most ignorant. I'm sorry, Jeff. You know I work in the blue. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna tell you some of the most ignorant shit that I've seen. Me and my youngest went to the store to get some Chinese food, right? Because yeah, I'm still eating it. Not for nothing. This is. I'll get to that. But while we was in the restaurant, this chick walks in with a mask and latex gloves on to get her food, and I'm thinking to myself, you silly you silly misguided fool, right?
Oh
You
man.
laughing, Jeff,
So
because
she
you
went
already know
to.
where I'm going.
I was like, so she went to a restaurant to pick up her food that she did not create in her house. Yeah, okay.
Brody,
All right.
Jace. She came in with a mask and latex gloves. It's not like she was handling money or anything like that. This is how she came in there and we had the nerve to be talking sideways to the Asians. Y'all got that corona. I don't know what's going on in the world. Y'all got corona. And I'm
Get
like,
out.
I was
Get
like,
out.
okay, all right, so, all right, I understand you're trying to protect yourself or whatever, but here's the thing: if you're that worried about coronavirus, don't order Chinese food.
No,
If you're
don't
that
order.
afraid of the
Dude,
Asians,
that is the part that is just killing me.
yeah,
Like,
dude,
I mean, I just all those precautions she took. It's like,
yeah.
you're missing the
Right.
main thing there.
Make your own
Hey
food,
Jeff,
man.
but Jeff, I'm from the generation that told you to take the cancer paper out the blunt before we smoke weed, but will ask you for a cigarette after the blunt was done. So all bets are off. All bets are off, man. It's whatever. You're dummy. You just don't know it. But the fact that she came in there like that, man, it just highlighted another level of ignorance. You're going through all these precautionary steps, but you're ordering Chinese food. You're so afraid, but yet you're ordering the cuisine, or you know what I mean. These people are still handling your food if you're that afraid of them. And like I said to the young lady in there, you have a higher chance of being coughed on by some random person on the metro that just got back from the Guangdong province of China, because I can guarantee you the people in this restaurant haven't gone anywhere in the last year. They've been working here, breathing the same air in the same part of town as you. They've been working like dogs to make this restaurant work. They ain't been back home, wherever home is, and it's probably not even affected by the Chinese chicken flu. Let you tell it. But that's how dumb people are. I just, I understand where they're coming from because these are the kind of people right now that will not go to the movies and quarantine themselves from everything because they're that stupid. They don't educate themselves. Not for nothing, you're doing yourself a disservice by doing all these things. Build up a healthy immune system by going out and getting sick, get some germs, build some resistance, build some tolerance. I understand why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's a gamble because for what it's worth, the fall season for this movie year is going to be chalk. It's going to be chalk to death. It's still a Bond movie during that time of year. It's still Bond, you know.
Yeah,
I don't
man,
think it's
it's
going to
gonna
have
make.
yeah. It's going to make
Yeah,
its money. It's going to make its
exactly.
money. Yeah. So I ain't worried. They ain't worried about it. You know. It's all good.
All right, last bit of news here for the day. Mark Wahlberg says the Uncharted movie would be tenfold better than previous versions. At one point, Wahlberg was going to play the series star Nathan Drake. Tom Holland is now going to play Nathan, and Wahlberg is going to play his partner slash ally or advisor, Sully. I think that's a little better because at this point, it's about time for Wahlberg to start transitioning into those older mentor roles anyway.
Yeah.
And this will actually give the film a chance to grow into a longer series because it can grow up with Holland and as Wahlberg continues to get older. What do you guys think about this?
No, that's right. That's what should happen because not for nothing. Look, Mark Wahlberg was a young hot rapper, actor, model guy when I was in elementary school. Like, I mean, seriously, like, Feel the Vibration came out when I was in elementary school. Okay,
Feel it, feel it.
feel it. Come on, yeah. He was with the Funky Bunch back then. You know, we talking about '91, dude. You are nobody's young action hero anymore. You are the grizzled old vet. Let somebody else take the reins, and that's Jeff. That's Jeff. Jace. That's something I don't understand about Hollywood. We keep relying is it we keep relying on the same old action heroes to sell action movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, in a perfect world, yes, Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves, but 55-year-old Keanu Reeves should not be John Wick. Am I right? I mean, he's kicking ass. I mean, yes, but in a perfect world, that would be a 28-year-old guy, right? Am I
But
right or am I
see,
wrong?
okay, yes, you're right.
I'm going to say wrong this way. I'll let Jace go.
Okay, you should pull, let over the reins. But there's also it's like I don't want Hollywood or any job to just basically, oh wait, you've aged out, let's kick you to the curb, only to do drama movies and that's the end of you. I'm okay with him like in this case because Sully, I think Mark Wahlberg will work tenfold better in that role in shorter doses versus being that lead hero because Drake has to do some crazy stuff, and then you know what I mean. It's like yes, Mark Wahlberg is in great shape, but you don't have to roll your eyes if this franchise is 5 more years down the road. It's like, okay, guys, come on. I saw, yes, this stunt guy's doing this. Yeah, I get it. Oh, yeah, he's not Tom Cruise. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to roll your eyes anymore. So it's like, okay, so a young guy doing that. Oh, okay. We I mean like those crazy like action movies. Yeah, we want to see the younger generation do them. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to see Indiana Jones in his 70s
Exactly.
still running around.
As
Right.
long as they can
But
still pull it
even
off, I'm down with it.
But see, and that's the thing about it. Like Keanu Reeves would be a bad example because Keanu Reeves at 55 is still kicking ass harder than somebody 30 years his junior, right? But to say this, a man that age, not to say we move him and push him out the pasture. If you can do it, you can do it. But for somebody like a Mark Wahlberg to be playing a role that somebody who should be playing in their 20s, doesn't that kind of do it? Like you said, it does a disservice to the growth of the franchise if this becomes a franchise because within 5 years, not for nothing, Mark Wahlberg he's gonna start to look like an old guy,
Mm.
like an AARP card carrying guy. Like you're not believing him beating up 20-year-olds anymore. It's just it's not plausible. Is that going to be the case going forward? And why hasn't Hollywood embraced the younger actors to play these roles?
But
What
again, okay.
what is that
But
about?
remember, is the episode we actually did when we talked about Hollywood trying to make some of these young stars the ish. It nobody just bought them because no one. They're putting a lot of times Hollywood's putting those young guys in that action role way too soon, and they're not building up a following. It's like oh, you're like the kid who does like a small bit role, like
Yeah.
kind of how Leonardo DiCaprio is a small kid, then he gets those larger roles, and then he takes it and runs with them. Like a lot of these guys are getting these great roles, and unfortunately, all they have to have is one bomb in their first like 3 films, and they're done with, and
Like
that's not
Taylor
a good thing
Lautner.
either. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like, for example, Chris Evans or Chris, what's his face? Any of
Pratt,
the Chris's. Yeah, Pratt.
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth. What's the other one? Pine. Any of the Chris's could have been Nathan Drake, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually like just like finally watched a video. It was like where Chris Evans is basically saying like after Fantastic Four, I was ready to quit Hollywood if it wasn't for Robert Downey Jr. telling me, hey, take this Captain America role. And especially if they don't have anybody saying, hey, I know you didn't get this good role, I know you got buried in this, but you're actually a good actor. Like keep trying. I mean, have your agent put you in a smaller role, like how Daniel Radcliffe is like, hey, you used to be Harry Potter, but you don't see him turning down a movie where he's got 2 guns on his hand. It's like, hey, sure, why not? Let me
Not at
try it
all.
out. It's like, so with some of these guys, it's just like Hollywood just doesn't have the patience. They don't trust anything they can't bank on 100%. And I can't blame them when they're spending instead of a movie costing 75 million to make, it's costing 150, and they got to promote this kid, and it's like, oh wait, I'm not taking another $200 million loss on this kid.
Well,
I thought it was bankable, and all in the box office receipt says it's not. So give me the next guy.
well, let me ask y'all this: bankability, right? And this is an episode within itself to me. Bankability in Hollywood seems to be a little overrated, especially today, because for what it's worth, you can have a movie come out of nowhere with an unknown cast and kick ass and make money, but if it's a good story, good effects, whatever the case may be. I
Like
mean,
the
and maybe
raid.
that's all. Huh?
Like the raid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
But
can
again,
have something like that that comes out of nowhere. But here's the thing: you can have a actor like Will Smith or Tom Cruise or who else has had some duds that were big budget duds? Eddie Murphy, Shia LaBeouf. You can have these big time actors tied to these pictures, and they bust. They do nothing in regard to return, or at least not expect what's expected. Um, isn't that to me? I don't know. If I guess if I'm an exec, I'm not I'm not holding the star power as dear to heart as I would the story, the movie itself. Can this movie drive itself as opposed to relying on the star power of an actor
I mean,
that
dude, honestly, when John Wick the first film came out, we're like, Keanu, really? I mean, how long has it been since The Matrix? I mean, come on. I mean, exactly what you're saying. It is one of
Mhm.
those deals where, okay, if you sell this on a movie, it doesn't matter who's playing. I mean, geez, you can take it back to The Matrix. That first commercial, it was like the dude from Speed. Oh, oh wait, this looks cool. Sign me
Yeah.
up.
but
But see,
if you're a
what's
Hollywood
funny
exec,
about that? Go ahead, Jay.
I'm saying, but if you're a Hollywood exec, you think of how many directors do I have signed under my studio? I don't have time to read all these scripts. I trust a group of people who tell me these things, and I got to run with that. I got to, spooze money from an investor to bankroll this crap. That's what I got to do. I don't have time to say, hey, let's check. I mean, it's basically like I need somebody I trust can get people into the audience before we make a movie. It's just, if you say you're going to make The Mummy with Tom Cruise, I might not see it, but hey, I know Tom Cruise brings an audience with him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that right there, I have to pay Tom Cruise $20 million. I can probably bet on getting 25 to $30 million right there.
Back on investment.
Now, if the cost overrun puts it to 150 million, then I'm screwed. If it's not a blockbuster.
But see, here's the thing, right? What's 3 Tom Cruise duds or misfires worth versus one surefire movie, right? Same thing to be said about Will Smith. What's 4 Will Smith duds to one Will Smith surefire? Even not even surefire, we break even like a Bad Boys. We break even to make a little more versus young actor, kind of not necessarily unheard of, but not as big as let's say Will Smith, who nails it. And we got the perfect storm of young actor, hip. He relates to today's movie going crowd, and I think that's part of the problem too. Is when these old faces that have been around for 20, 30 years on the screen, they're not drawing the young moviegoer because not for nothing. This is like my father or grandfather as the action hero. I want to see the action hero that kind of looks like me, sounds like me, reminds me of me.
Well, again, now
That I can
if
relate to this guy
let's say this, like,
or girl.
how many people went to go see Men in Black International that had a young guy attached to it who's been
But that
bankable.
looked terrible.
Devon, it's really about the look of the movie. It's not. I don't think it's so much about the stars anymore, because I think any franchise can get going. I mean, Chris Pratt was outside of Parks and Rec fans, basically a no. You know,
he was nobody.
Who was he? And Zoe Saldana in green makeup, Dave Bautista in green makeup. I mean, they got a raccoon, they've got a tree talking. I mean,
dude, this was supposed to be a dud.
Absolutely. So as long as you make a movie look good, and with all the CGI now, you can make basically any movie look good. You have a chance. You just have to pass that eye test. And then there's some movies you watch the trailer and it's like, clearly this is gonna suck. I've got no interest in this movie. And then they go, why do people not want to see it? Because the movie looks like trash.
But the problem is that's after the movie's been made. That's when all the investment has already been made, and you have to recoup it at that point.
You know who didn't?
But you know what's funny?
Paramount didn't with Sonic. People were like, this doesn't look like Sonic. This looks like trash. And they were like, you know what? Maybe the audience who would go see this movie is right. Let's hold off. Let's fix the movie that looks like trash to the paying audience. And then what happened? Sonic was leading the box office for 2 or 3 weekends in a row. It works. It's really, you have to make it look good.
Oh, so that was whoever did that. That was the smartest thing they could have done, because that movie would have been 1 week and done. But they said, hey, they actually were smart enough to take criticism. Like, okay, we can change that. You aren't saying this looks stupid. You're saying our CGI character needs work. Got it. We can do that.
He looks bad. They fixed that. Problem solved. All right. Well, we will go back on that topic, Javon, because I think that'll be interesting. Let's go to wrap this bad boy up with your nominees for Dummies of the Week. Jake, you want to go first?
Ooh, let's see who I'm going to really go. I'm trying to figure out. I think I'm going to go with my Dummy of the Week is my man, Flavor Flav. Man, Flavor Flav, I don't know if he had an issue with the burn. He wasn't feeling the burn, but he decided to send a cease and desist letter to the Bernie Sanders campaign from using Public Enemy songs, even though the rest of Public Enemy was going to do a Public Enemy concert, minus Flavor Flav. And he decided, yeah, I can do this on my own. This is a good move. And Chuck D kind of informed him that, no, that is not a good move. We will be making a non-mutual into your association with Public Enemy, and got fired on his day off from Public Enemy. So with that, non-attorney Flavor Flav getting fired from Public Enemy, that's been probably a decent little paying job, because you, instead of talking to your bandmates about a concert, you decide to send a cease and desist letter. That gets you the Dummy of the Week for me.
Absolutely. Mine is all of these NFL insiders who are trying to get clicks by saying Tom Brady is a free agent and the Niners are interested in getting this 42, 43-year-old guy, even though they've got a 28-year-old who just took his team to the Super Bowl despite coming off an ACL injury, because it makes sense to them. And there's some speculation that it makes sense because Brady grew up rooting for the Niners.
Okay. So is Kyle Shanahan Josh McDaniels?
Not last I checked, no.
So he's not going to blow up the young, upcoming quarterback for the guy he used to work with or thinks might be good.
Or better yet, did he not have his frontal lobe cut out of his Come on, man, stop.
I mean, seriously, like, so you think Tom Brady, let's be honest, he can't, his arm strength is gone. He's a smart quarterback, but he's not, no. It's just like, I mean, as much as you might talk about, oh, well, Jimmy G didn't do it in the big games, like, I'm sorry, how many quarterbacks go in to win the Super Bowl in their first try?
I mean, he did get hit 11 times, which Brady, as we all know, can't deal with any kind of pressure. And I forgot how Brady's playoff run in 2020 ended with a better statistically ranked defense.
Jeff, they did not go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's weird. I thought that Brady was playing Garoppolo. Anyway, that's really confusing.
Not at all.
No. Yeah. So, I don't typically engage with idiots on Twitter, but I have been really busy this week. Because I'm like, well, sheesh, Jerry Rice hasn't officially announced that he was done. And I saw him catching passes in the end zone in the NFC championship game. It makes sense.
Hey, Jerry Rice actually still looks in shape at 45 or some ridiculous age. I'm like, dude, seriously?
Yeah. 53.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, dude. I need you to look like you're 53 now. Like, hey, I could actually still really run routes around these dudes. Like, no. Some of us in our 40s aren't cool with that, man.
Right. All right, Javon, how about you?
Man, I got a couple. More than a couple. I'm gonna try to keep it to 4. Number one, the folks that I've seen in the Texas Panhandle through, not just through Texas, but extending to Alabama, and Oklahoma, who are worried about the coronavirus, but not in the form of a Chinese-born virus born from mismanagement of food handling, etc. They're worried about the coronavirus as they know it being spread through tainted Mexican beer. And I'm like, dude, this was an episode of King of the Hill. Like, remember that episode of King of the Hill where Alamo beer was tainted? The Mexican Alamo beer was tainted. It was coming across the border and making people have diarrhea. These people were actually worried about the coronavirus spreading through Corona beer and saying it was a Mexican plot to poison the United States and we have to have the border walls built. You can't. This story got buried from everything else, but this is an actual thing. Please look this up. There were people that were afraid of the coronavirus being transmitted through tainted Mexican imported Corona beer. Because people are that stupid nowadays. It's just what it is. There's that. Those are dummies. Another set of dummies are the LAPD, whatever they are, coroner's office, whomever, who leaked the photos of Kobe. Like, when I read the article about how this started, they went to a bar and were like, hey, you want to see something gory? Like, here's Kobe Bryant's dead body. It's like, dude, what the hell and why? Like, how was your life that empty where you just, these are the photos I'm going to take in my phone and start showing them to people when I'm getting drunk at a bar? Like, look, I don't know it all. I never claimed to. But I know that's not going to end well for you. Just do something else. Like, it's tragic. It's bad, but, don't do that. Like, do anything else. Go fishing. Go kite flying. Go to Catalina to the wine mixer. I don't care what you do. Don't do that because it's not going to end well for you. And not only that, look, there are a lot of evil people out there who may get a chuckle out of something like that. But the hell with them. They're terrible people. We don't need them in the world. Don't go around showing people pictures of anybody's charred body. That's morbid, sick, and you need to sit on somebody's couch and talk about what went wrong in your life at some point. Don't do that. That's bad. So you're a dummy. It's silly. Um, oh gosh. Damon Dash for yelling at his kids on the. He was on some male version of Ayana Fix My Life because I'm an idiot and a piece of garbage. And he was
I
on there with
actually
his
saw
stupid
that.
kids.
I actually saw that show.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my gosh, Sheldon really taking advice from this lady. Like, really? Okay. Okay.
Hey, Jace, the saddest part about it is the dude that was trying to be Ayana Van Zant was more like a used car salesman trying to negotiate the right price on a 2014 Honda Civic or something like that. And Dad was like, I don't want to hear it. I'm not buying neither one of you idiots a car because both of y'all failed the 12th grade. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why are we doing this? And Dave Dash, not for nothing, for all the shit he talks about, how he's got all these streams of revenue and Dame Dash the millionaire, the success, etc. Dame Dash continues to make a monkey out of himself in his life. He makes a mockery out of himself at least every few months over the last 3 years. If I'm lying, I'm flying here. Accosting Lee Daniels in the middle of a performance or whatever. They look like they were at Wolf Trap.
Maybe.
They look like they were at Wolf Trap, right? And he just came up to him and was like, yo, what's good with that loan? It's like, nigga, Earth on the show. I'll talk to you about it. Dame is just, look, for as much as he tries to demonize Jay-Z, and that always becomes a topic of his conversation, it's like, dude, aside from anything that Jay-Z ever did to you or didn't do for you, that's what it really sounds like. What did you do to yourself to get you in this situation where you're just making a mockery of what you once were, or making a mockery of yourself and embarrassing yourself and your children at this point just to stay relevant? Yeah, it's an embarrassment. It really is. That's three. Oh God, I had number four, man, but these last three were a doozy.
Well,
Doozy.
put a pin. Remember for next week, because we
All
always
right.
have more space for more dummies.
Yeah, we never run out.
No, indeed. All right, well, fellas, thank y'all as always for rolling with me. Thank y'all out there for listening. This episode of Lyle's Movie Files has been filed.